How's it, guys? It's Craig again here. We're going to be starting a radical build on this lovely Evo 9. As some of you may know, we've already developed the 4G63 TSG DQ500 adaptation kit. That was the components. That was in another video where we showed the components and the assembly of that adaptation kit onto the DQ500 gearbox, which was on the 4G63 engine. So now that we've got that all done and dusted, we're moving on to a full build, that combo will be going into this car. I just thought I'd let you guys know. As you can see, it's a full stock Evo. Car hasn't been hacked up to pieces or anything, so we're going to be building a swap kit for reproduction purposes. So that you guys out there can actually do a full bolt on and not have to deal with the heartache of all the fabrication and the costs involved. So this is going to be a product for straight bolt on. Requirements for this build, obviously first and foremost, that's going to be the adaptation kit, which brings your engine and gearbox together. That's the first thing. Then you need your DQ500 gearbox. There's lots of them on eBay, and I can also get you guys some boxes as well. So any DQ500 gearbox, as long as it's an all-wheel drive box, because they do come out in front-wheel drive version as well. Yeah, preferably get it with the cooler attached. And no visible damages, otherwise you're gonna be guessing whether it's a damaged box or not. And then you're gonna need the corresponding VW starter motor as well. That's a must. And then, as some of you already know, you will require the OEM dual mass flywheel, which is an 8-hole flywheel, and that's going to bolt straight on using the adapter kit. But I must stress, don't use a second-hand flywheel. You're going through all this extreme. Don't go and put second-hand parts on. Well, particularly the flywheel. So you can go with the Sux flywheel, which is pretty good. Here's the part number. And that will bolt straight onto the engine using the adapter kit, particularly the crank adapter. It's gonna bolt straight on. There's no modifications on the flywheel at all. So that's your gearbox side. So you got your gearbox, your flywheel, your starter motor, and that will finish up the front combination. Then to use this, to make this swap happen, you 100% absolutely have to use the Haldex diff, VW/Audi diff. This particular swap kit is going to be developed for reproduction based on the Generation 1 Audi S3 Haldex diff. Because the subframe is going to be made to suit this diff. And the reason why is they are abundant, they're cheap. I don't want to base the rear subframe on later models. That's going to be hard to find and it's going to be bloody expensive. So this is the diff that you would need to use for my swap kit. There's lots of them available. They're fairly cheap and they don't really give issues, you know. It's literally just changing the Haldex oil and filter, and and then the diff oil as well. And then Bob's your uncle. That will that will work 100%. I mean, you can step it up and put a Pelican Alice in the back there as well. That's going to give you nice traction on the rear. And the same with the DQ500 as well. I mean, there's a lovely wave track LSD available for this DQ500, as well as some upgraded clutches from Datsun's or Decker Performance. I think it's Decker Performance. They also called DCT. They've got various upgrade clutches for various power levels. Actually cheaper than Datsun's. So there's clutches available. There's a wave track LS available if you want to go step it up a notch. So those are all the mechanical components that's needed. Beyond that, it's, well, as we do the build, we're going to inform you of the little bits and pieces that's required. But the swap kit is basically going to entail all new engine gearbox mounts, and that will settle the engine and gearbox in place. Then it's also going to come with custom front axles. It will also come with an adapter that will connect the TSG gearbox transfer box to your OEM prop. So the prop might have to get shortened. We will get there, but we'll give you an adapter that will adapt transfer box TSG to your OEM prop. And then on the back of the car, we'll have the same setup. We'll have the prop with an adapter, which will go onto the Haldex diff. So we want to try and use the OEM prop as much as possible. And then on the back of the car, there'll be a custom subframe, which is going to house the VW diff. We're hoping that we can use the rear frame of the Evo and then make a custom front frame, which will then save some costs by using that back frame as well. Because the Evo's back frame actually holds the lower control arms as well. So we want to try and keep that in place and then add on to that a frame that will hold the diff in place. And then of course we'll have the custom rear axles as well, which you will use OEM S3 inner CV joints and your Evo outer joints, and the axle will basically mate the inner and the outer perfectly fine. And the same with the front axles. You're going to get your standard Evo outer, which will couple to the DSG inner CV joints. The DSG inner CV joints, I think this is that's the left front one, and that's the right front one. So you will need those CV joints as well as the S3 inner CV joints. You will need those components as well. The axles are not going to come with CVs. I mean, some guys want to use old ones, new ones. I'm not going to get involved in CV joints, but the axles will fit perfectly onto whatever joints you use. But it will definitely slip onto the outers of the Evo's original ones. And then what else was there? Okay, so that's basically what the build entails mechanically. We give you feedback as we're doing the build. On electronic side, we busy negotiating with Cyvex for this particular build, so that we can do a plug and play and a startup file with wiring instructions for you guys with the 6789 models, where you can literally plug and play, start driving and start tuning fine tuning. That's what the end result will be here. So, I mean, a lot of guys won't want to use CyFX because it is expensive. But in this particular case, this guy needs an engine ECU. So, by using the CyFX, we can do engine and DSG for the same price as using a decent engine ECU with some aftermarket DSG controller. So the CyFX makes sense in this particular case. Some of you guys may already have some fancy ECUs, in which case you might want to look at maybe using a HTG gearbox controller, which is standalone. That might suit you better. But in this case, CyFX is the answer. It's going to be a plug-and-play situation, and it's going to take a lot of headache away from guys that are not really inclined to do things themselves. So this will help a lot. So next video we'll probably start breaking down the car and getting the engine and gearbox into position more or less before we start drawing up files for engine mountings. So keep watching, and I hope you're gonna be as excited as we are. Well, not to mention the customer, he's pretty excited. So yeah, we'll get you the next video up and running soon. Thanks, guys.